Welcome to the deep dive, where we kind of take a stack of research and extract the golden nuggets just for you.
Yeah.
Today we're diving into the fascinating world of K-pop star Rosé.
Right.
You've given us an article about her solo career reflections,
Hmm.
plus a podcast episode outline that maps her rise to fame.
Yeah.
Our mission is to figure out how she balances solo success with being part of BLACKPINK,
Okay.
and what this means for the group's future.
The fascinating tightrope walk, isn't it?
Yeah.
The article really highlights how, even though Rosé is clearly thriving on her own, she doesn't shy away from admitting she misses her bandmates.
Yeah, and it's not just like a casual miss you text kind of thing.
Right.
The article mentions a story about her having a 2-hour video call with Lisa while they both cooked ramen, even though they were in completely different cities.
Wow.
Lisa was in New York, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think so.
That level of effort to stay connected really jumped out at me.
Absolutely. It hints at something deeper than just friendship. Remember, K-pop is notoriously competitive.
Yeah.
To me, that ramen anecdote suggests they've built a support system that helps them navigate the pressures of the industry, even when they're physically apart.
That's an interesting take.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if that built-in support is part of what lets them pursue solo careers without drifting apart as a group.
Right.
Speaking of which, let's rewind a bit to before the global fame.
Okay.
Your podcast outline mentions Rosé grew up in Australia, a world away from the K-pop scene.
It really is a remarkable contrast.
Yeah.
And her journey might have stayed in Australia if not for her father.
Really?
He's the one who recognized her talent early on and pushed her to audition for YG Entertainment.
Now, for those of you unfamiliar with the K-pop landscape, YG Entertainment is one of the biggest agencies in South Korea, responsible for launching some of the most iconic groups.
Oh, yeah.
It's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, huge.
And this audition wasn't just a local talent show, was it?
Not at all.
No.
We're talking over 7,000 hopefuls vying for a spot. The sheer scale of that is incredible.
Yeah.
It must have been incredibly intimidating.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
The outline mentions she played guitar and sang I Won't Give Up by Jason Mraz.
Oh, wow.
Talk about a fitting song choice.
Right.
And guess what?
Right.
She snagged first place.
Oh, my God.
Out of thousands.
That's the thing that gets me. It wasn't just that she won, but her choice to sing I Won't Give Up.
Right.
It speaks to a level of self-awareness, almost a premonition of the perseverance she'd need to not just make it in K-pop,
Yeah.
but to become a global star.
Right.
Do you think she realized the significance of that song choice back then?
It's hard to say, but it definitely adds a layer of depth to her story, don't you think?
Yeah, for sure.
And for our listener, it highlights that this success story wasn't just handed to her.
Right.
There was talent, yes, but also a willingness to fight for her dream.
Absolutely.
Now we've established that Rosé is incredibly talented, clearly driven, and deeply connected to her bandmates. But where does all this leave the future of BLACKPINK?
Well, according to the article, Rosé seems pretty optimistic about BLACKPINK's future.
Okay.
She believes that their solo experiences will ultimately make them stronger as a group.
So instead of drifting apart, they're almost like individual branches gathering nutrients that they'll bring back to the main trunk, making the whole tree even stronger.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating dynamic, and it seems like they found a way to leverage their individual pursuits to fuel their collective growth. And I think that's a key takeaway for you, dear listener.
Okay.
We often hear about the challenges of balancing individual ambitions with group unity.
Yeah.
But what if, like BLACKPINK, those seemingly separate paths can actually feed into each other, leading to even greater success on both fronts?
That's a great point, and it really makes you wonder how this individual growth will manifest when they reunite.
Yeah.
But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's delve deeper into the specific ways Rosé is balancing her solo career with her commitment to BLACKPINK.
Yes. Let's explore that dynamic further.
Okay.
The article mentions some intriguing insights into her approach that I think you'll find fascinating.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Yeah,
And I'm sure our listeners too.
for sure.
Let's dive in.
What's interesting is that Rosé seems to have a very deliberate approach to balancing her two worlds. The article describes it as almost compartmentalizing.
Oh, okay.
When she's focused on solo work, she's all in. But then she makes a conscious effort to reconnect with the BLACKPINK members. It's like with that ramen call.
So it's not about constantly juggling both,
Right.
but more like switching gears fully.
Yeah.
Does that make sense considering what we know about K-pop's demanding schedules?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Think about it. K-pop idols are known for their intense training regimens, packed schedules, and constant pressure to deliver. It's not an environment that rewards half measures. Rosé's approach might be her way of ensuring she can give her all to each endeavor without burning out.
That's a really insightful observation. It makes me think of that advice her father gave her before the YG audition. If you don't try now, you might regret it later.
Yeah.
It seems like that philosophy has permeated her entire career, both solo and with BLACKPINK. She goes all in, no regrets.
It's fascinating how those early influences can shape a person's entire trajectory, isn't it?
Yeah.
And for our listener, it might be worth reflecting on those defining moments in your own life. What decisions or advice have shaped your path?
That's a great point. Now let's circle back to that life-changing audition for a moment.
Okay.
You mentioned earlier that YG Entertainment is one of K-pop's powerhouses.
Right.
What would that audition have been like for Rosé coming from Australia?
Imagine this. You're a teenager who grew up listening to Western pop music, playing guitar in your bedroom. Suddenly you're flown halfway across the world to a country where you might not even speak the language. Then you're thrown into a room with thousands of other talented hopefuls, all vying for the same dream. It must have been a whirlwind of culture shock nerves and pure adrenaline.
Wow, that paints a vivid picture.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just about singing, right? K-pop idols are known for their dancing stage presence and overall charisma.
Yeah.
Were those elements part of the audition too?
Absolutely. K-pop auditions are multifaceted. They're looking for raw talent, but also the potential to be molded into a complete performer.
Okay.
They assess singing, dancing, sometimes even rapping and acting. Plus, they're evaluating personality, stage presence,
Wow.
and that elusive it factor.
Wow, it's like a pressure cooker for talent.
Yeah.
And yet Rosé not only survived it, she
Yeah.
thrived.
She did.
The outline specifically mentions the guitar and the song I Won't Give Up.
Yeah.
But it doesn't say if she danced too.
Right.
Any clues in your research about how she tackled those other performance aspects?
The podcast outline doesn't go into specifics, but my research suggests that even though Rosé was known for her guitar playing, YG Entertainment saw her potential as a vocalist and dancer. It's likely she had to demonstrate some level of proficiency in those areas during the audition process, even if it wasn't her primary focus at the time.
So they saw the raw talent and then helped her hone those other skills.
Exactly.
That makes sense considering how polished BLACKPINK's performances are.
Right.
It's not just singing, it's a whole package.
It is.
Yeah.
And for our listener, this highlights an important point. Sometimes recognizing and nurturing potential is just as important as raw talent. Don't be afraid to step outside your comfort zone and explore new avenues for growth. You never know what hidden talents you might discover.
That's great advice. Now, we've talked about Rosé's solo work and her commitment to BLACKPINK, but we haven't really delved into what her solo career actually looked like. The article mentions she's finding it fulfilling.
Yeah.
But does it give any hints about her musical style as a solo artist compared to BLACKPINK's sound?
Yes, it does.
Oh, okay.
The article points out that Rosé's solo music leans more towards a softer pop rock sound, which contrasts with BLACKPINK's harder-hitting hip-hop influence style.
So she's exploring a different side of her musicality.
Right.
That's interesting, especially considering how distinct each BLACKPINK member's solo work seems to be. The outline mentions Lisa's solo work leaning more towards hip-hop, for example.
Precisely. It seems like each member is using their solo projects to showcase their individual artistic identities.
Yeah.
And that's what makes the prospect of their reunion next year so intriguing. How will they integrate these diverse experiences back into the BLACKPINK sound?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
It's almost like they're each adding their own spices to the mix.
Yeah.
Will it make the final dish even more flavorful, or will it be too overwhelming?
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And it raises a fascinating question for our listener.
Yeah.
How do you think the individual experiences of each BLACKPINK member will shape their music and performances when they reunite? Will they blend seamlessly, creating a new, richer sound?
Right.
Or will there be creative clashes?
I love that question. It really gets you thinking about the dynamics of a group coming back together after exploring such distinct solo paths. But before we get too deep into speculation, let's zoom out a bit.
Okay.
We've focused a lot on the music,
Yeah.
but the article and outline also hint at something else.
Oh, you mean BLACKPINK's impact beyond music?
Yeah,
Their influence on fashion, for example?
exactly. The article mentions Rosé's individual style and her partnerships with luxury brands. It's clear they're not just musicians, they're trendsetters, shaping global fashion.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Eevee member has become a fashion icon in their own right,
Right.
landing major brand deals and influencing trends worldwide.
And it's not just about wearing expensive clothes.
Right.
They each have such distinct personal styles that reflect their individuality,
Yes.
which I think resonates with fans who see them as role models for self-expression.
It's true. They're not just following trends. They're setting them. And I think that's particularly inspiring for young people who are exploring their own identities and trying to find their place in the world.
It's like they're saying, be yourself, embrace your uniqueness, and don't be afraid to stand out.
Yeah.
And that message, I think, is just as powerful as their music.
Absolutely.
But even with all this individual success, it seems like their core fan base, the B-Links, are still fully on board. How do you think they've managed to maintain that connection?
Well, both the article and the podcast outline touch on BLACKPINK's dedication to their fans. They seem to genuinely appreciate their support and go out of their way to connect with them.
Like that ramen story with Lisa, right? Even though they're global superstars, they still make time for those personal touches. And I think that resonates with fans. It's like they haven't let the fame go to their heads.
That's a key point. In a world where social media often creates a sense of distance between celebrities and their fans, BLACKPINK seems to break that barrier.
Right.
They engage with fans, online host live streams,
Yeah.
and make a genuine effort to show their appreciation.
It's like a two-way street. The B-Links are incredibly devoted, and BLACKPINK reciprocates that love and support. And that bond, I think, is what makes their story so compelling.
I couldn't agree more. It's a reminder that success isn't just about individual achievement,
Right.
but also about building meaningful connections and fostering a sense of community.
And that brings us back to the central question of this deep dive.
Okay.
How will these individual journeys ultimately impact BLACKPINK's future? You mentioned earlier how their diverse solo sounds could either blend seamlessly or clash.
Yeah,
But beyond the music, what other changes might we see?
that's a great question. I think the solo ventures could potentially lead to a more mature, nuanced approach to their performances and visuals.
Oh, interesting. So we're not just talking about music,
Right.
but maybe a shift in their overall aesthetic.
Exactly. They might experiment with different concepts, incorporate more personal narratives into their music videos, or even take on more creative control over their stage productions.
That would be exciting to see.
It would.
And for our listener, it highlights how growth isn't linear. Sometimes it takes branching out, exploring different paths, to ultimately discover a richer, more complex version of yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is the beauty of BLACKPINK's story. They're not afraid to evolve,
Right.
to challenge themselves, and to push the boundaries of what a global pop group can be.
And it's that fearlessness, I think, that keeps their fans coming back for more. It's not just about the music or the fashion. It's about the journey, the evolution, the constant sense of discovery.
I couldn't agree more. And as they gear up for their reunion next year, I'm certain they'll have plenty of surprises in store for us.
I can't wait to see what they have up their sleeves.
Yeah.
But before we get too caught up in the future,
Right.
let's take a moment to appreciate how far they've come.
Yeah.
From that nerve-wracking audition in Seoul to selling out stadiums worldwide.
Wow.
It's been an incredible journey.
It's a testament to their talent, hard work, and unwavering dedication to their craft.
And it's a reminder that dreams can come true even if they seem impossibly far away. But I have a feeling their story is far from over. What do you think the next chapter holds for BLACKPINK?
Well, I think the future of BLACKPINK is directly tied to what we've been unpacking this whole deep dive balance. They've each had these solo experiences that are frankly pretty different from each other musically.
Right.
But will they try to blend those into BLACKPINK's sound?
Yeah.
Or will it be more like a showcase where each member gets their moment?
It's a fascinating dilemma, isn't it?
Yeah.
You have to consider what the fans want.
Right.
Do they want BLACKPINK to stay within a familiar sound? Or are they open to experimentation? Because if Rosé's solo work is any indication, she's clearly not afraid to explore new territory.
And you have to factor in the K-pop landscape itself.
Yeah.
It's constantly evolving with new groups debuting all the time. To stay at the top, BLACKPINK might need to reinvent themselves, push boundaries, and surprise their audience.
It's a high-stakes game.
But based on their track record, I think they're up for the challenge. Remember, they broke through with a unique sound and a powerful visual aesthetic that set them apart from other girl groups at the time.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if they used this reunion as an opportunity to redefine themselves once again.
And you've got to remember, they're not just musicians.
Right.
They're global fashion icons, influencers, and role models. Their choices, both musically and stylistically, have a ripple effect across the world. So whatever direction they choose, it's going to make waves.
I think that's a key takeaway for you, dear listener.
Yeah.
When we talk about BLACKPINK's future, we're not just talking about music. We're talking about a cultural phenomenon that has the power to influence fashion, beauty standards, and even global perceptions of K-pop.
And that influence comes with a responsibility, right?
It does.
They have a huge platform,
Yeah.
and they're not afraid to use it.
Right.
So I'm curious to see how their messages of empowerment and individuality will evolve as they enter this new chapter. Will they become even more outspoken?
That's an intriguing question.
Mm-hmm.
Their individual solo work has already touched on themes of self-love and breaking free from societal expectations.
Uh-huh.
It's possible that those themes will become even more prominent when they reunite,
Yeah.
especially with the added confidence and experience they've gained from their solo journeys.
It's almost like each member is coming back with a piece of a puzzle.
Right.
And those pieces, while unique in themselves,
Yeah.
are meant to fit together to create a bigger, bolder picture.
Absolutely.
And that picture, I think, is going to be a reflection of not just their individual growth, but also the evolution of K-pop itself.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. BLACKPINK's reunion is not just about four individuals coming back together. It's about a group that's poised to shape the future of K-pop. And for those of you just discovering them, it's a great time to jump on board because this ride is only going to get more exciting.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up our deep dive into Rosé's journey and the future of BLACKPINK, I want to leave you with this. Don't just think about what their music will sound like. Think about the bigger picture. How will they use their platform? What messages will they amplify? And how will their evolution as artists push the boundaries of what a global pop group can achieve?
Those are the questions that keep me up at night. And I think the answers will be as multifaceted and dynamic as BLACKPINK themselves.
Well said. And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. We hope you've enjoyed this exploration of Rosé's incredible journey and the exciting possibilities that lie ahead for BLACKPINK. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.